something from me, and it's going to work or not work. I have nothing to sell. That we do have a successful system. I feel like it's existed like Puthai Sawan. It's a hard word. It's a Thai word. Puthai Sawan. What it means in Thai is the Buddha's heaven. Okay, and that's actually the name of the first school I trained in Thailand. Rongrian Puthai Sawan. Samnakdak Ayutthaya. So the ancient school of the Buddha's heaven from Ayutthaya, Thailand. 985 years in continuous operation. 985 years. More than 10,000 teachers, 36 generations of grandmasters, and more than 1 million students going through that school. More than 1 million students going through that school. I don't think we're going to be the first generation to mess it up. I don't think none of us are bright enough, none of us are dedicated enough to mess it up for it not to work. That it's worked in so many different situations of life for so many people. You know, because that's where you start talking traditional Oriental systems. You start the numbers. You have to start to think it's not just a few people, right? It's millions of people, right? And part of the reason I like to take people to Asia, India, Thailand, Burma, and so on, is to see this work where it's not an alternative. Where, in fact, this is all that there is as far as what's reasonably available to people to help them if they have any physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual difficulty. It's what is. There is nothing else. Only rich people go to Western docs. Only rich people. And trust me, in Asia, they show up in freaking Mercedes. You know? And they show up. Rich people go to Western clinics. You go to Western clinics in Thailand, people are very well dressed and they drive new cars. They drive cars that cost more there than they do here by about 20-30%. Do you know that? Like your Volkswagen in Thailand would cost about 30% more in Bangkok right now to buy that car, right? Where still the median income for an average Thai person is less than $400 a year, US. So if you got 92% of the people that make less than $400 a year, US, what kind of medicine can they afford? And they do get it because, I don't know, you've been all over India, and some of you have traveled more. There's not bodies lined up in the streets, you know, from lack of care. There's not just carcasses, litter all the dead people for lack of medicine that are filling the alleyways and filling the ditches and filling the... No, it's not like that. In fact, people are remarkably healthy considering how polluted and how really awful that kind of thing is in those countries. They're very dirty. You know? Who's been to India? I know you've been to India. Anybody else? Thailand, Burma? All right. So it is surprising how healthy people are in general, considering that if those same standards were applied here, we'd think the streets would be littered with bodies. They're not. You know? But anyway, so that's the idea is why I donate my time. It's a gift. I've made my living for 35 years doing exclusively this work, and I feel like it's really important to keep giving back and keep throwing some kind of alternative, a monkey wrench, if you want to call it that, into the system. Because, and I have to say it's a little bit misleading, because this is not just a technique of healing. It's not. It is that. It's a true system of medicine in every sense of the way. Ancient, traditional, true system. But I also believe that where the real power of it is in those of us who learn these systems, applying them to our everyday practical life. And having a different way of thinking about everything. Everything from medicine, every kind of medicine, everything about our health, everything about our stress, about our finances, about our environment. Because, you know, basically, if you understood more about how interconnected all these things are, things like what's happening in the Gulf, for example, just wouldn't happen. People would not allow it to happen because they would fundamentally, in their gut, would understand that if we're negligent, we set up a situation that's going to cause this kind of devastation, it's going to cause stress for the environment. It's going to cause stress for people. Do you know, there was a report yesterday, the anxiety levels of people on the coast rising. The anxiety levels. There's going to be a rise in suicide. There's going to be a rise in alcoholism. There's going to be a rise in family violence. There's going to be a rise in violence to children. There's going to be a rise in bankruptcies. There's going to be a rise in cancers. Not because of the pollution, though that's a factor too, and the jury's out, okay, on that. But because cancer is opportunistic, and if you have a cancer that you have been handling with your immune system pretty well, so it hasn't reached a critical mass to be able to propagate, and you become stressed to a point of failure, where your immune system shuts down, within a month you can have a vital metastasized cancer just because of the defeat of your immune system. Couple that with any toxic exposure. Now guess what? That's happening to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on our coast right now. Right now, this minute. And there will be no medicine available for these people. No more than there was medicine available for New Orleans after Katrina. Blackwater was there with black helicopters and handcuffs, but there were not medical teams. There were police force, National Guard, but there weren't. The first field hospital set up by the National Guard wasn't in place for, I think it was 21 days?
Yeah, something like that.
21 days? Okay, so what were people doing? Well, whatever they knew to do. Whatever they knew to do. You know, I have actually many students in New Orleans, and I was supposed to be teaching in New Orleans that same weekend that Katrina hit. And my sponsor called me up and said, don't come, they're evacuating the city. Don't come, we're canceling the workshop. And it was probably the 5th time I've taught in New Orleans. But I've got probably a couple hundred students who are residents in New Orleans. And all through and since and subsequent to, guess what they've been doing? They've been doing Thai yoga. You know? And they were doing Thai yoga. There was Thai yoga being done in the stadium. You know, it wasn't on the news, but it was there. It was happening. You know? That's how I see what we're doing. And we'll talk more about it. I think that since I went on a diatribe that we'll save this DVD, which has more history and background, more generic, like historical stuff, like India and where it comes from.